Ever feel guilty for not being productive enough? If so, you are far from alone. Our culture is obsessed with productivity, and moms especially are expected to always be on the go, always be getting things done, because how could you have time for anything else? But this pressure to always be productive does more harm than good, and we need to talk about it.
Welcome to Worthy Mother Podcast. I'm your host, Emily Hardy, a mom of two on a mission to help moms everywhere feel less alone. This is not a parenting podcast. Instead, it's a space for pushing back against societal expectations of perfection and embracing self-compassion in your motherhood journey. Let's get into it.
Hey, it's Emily. Thank you so much for being here. Before we jump fully into the episode, I would love to remind you to make sure that you are subscribed to Worthy Mother Podcast wherever you are listening from, whether that's Apple, Spotify, watching on YouTube. Also, it would mean so much to me if you would leave a rating and review wherever you listen. I do read these. They do make me feel very happy with the kind words and just letting me know the impact that this podcast is having on listeners. But it also just helps other moms who come across the show get a feel for whether it might be a good fit for what they're needing in their life, which is the goal, right? We want more and more moms to be tuned into these conversations that really are changing the narrative around motherhood and what's expected of moms in society. Today, we are going to be tackling something very important, something that impacts probably most of our lives, and that is this kind of obsession we have as a culture to always be productive, to always need to be doing things. And when we're not doing things that are deemed productive by, outside society, it feels like we are not doing enough. That feeling of not doing enough, not being enough, impacts so many moms. I know it's something that comes up in my life a lot and with the moms that I talk about. And while this pressure to be productive affects us all, not just moms, it is important to acknowledge that moms have this pressure both within the home and outside of the home. There's so much pressure for moms to always be on inside the home with their kids. And then if they're working outside of the home or they are doing things with their kids outside of the home, it's like this constant need to be going. You shouldn't be sitting down and resting because there's too much to do. There's too much that is on your plate. And so this episode will be about finding the freedom to take time for joy, to take time for rest, and to really redefine what it actually means to be productive and whether or not it's as important as we make it seem. So it's important as we have this conversation to kind of lay the foundation of where we are culturally and how things have changed over time. We are living in a hyper go world. We are navigating jobs, trying to pay our bills. We are navigating kids and the just ample amount of things that they are supposed to be doing, whether that's homework, whether that's the activities after school, navigating friendships, having play dates, doing the things we want to be doing, all of it. There is so much going on at any given moment, and we're expected to be doing all of those things constantly. There's things that we actually have to do, right? We have to do the things that are going to allow us to pay our bills. We have to do the act of paying the bills. We have to take care of the responsibilities we have to our children. But there's also this cultural expectation that we will go above and beyond. We will have our kids in a soccer program. We will be creating screen-free activities at home. We will be getting out to fun events and giving the kids new experiences. There may only be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but those 24 hours a day, 7 days a week are expected to be crammed full of all the stuff. Now, I can't speak from personal experience of how it was to be a mother 30 years ago, but I think it's fair to say that things have changed in a very short amount of time. Go back another 30 years and things were different still. The amount of just stuff that an individual is expected to carry from home life, from work, from the kids in school, from social life, interacting with friends, having relationships. It is so much that we all have on our shoulders. And we have social media to show a mirror into other people's lives and show, well, they're all doing it too. So the expectations are just through the roof on all that we are supposed to be doing. And arguably, there's not enough time to do it all. And that's where this obsession with always being productive comes in. If there's not enough time to do it all, then none of the time we do have should be spent not doing those things. We don't have time for rest. We don't have time for pointless activities that bring us joy but nothing else. All of our time needs to go towards being productive, towards the meeting of these expectations. And that is a lot of pressure. So when you do sit down at the couch and decide, you know what, I'm not doing anything tonight. The kids are in bed and I'm going to turn on a Netflix show, put my feet up, and have a glass of sparkling water or a glass of wine and just do nothing. Let my mind be free. There is a lot of times a wave of guilt that comes with it because there's dishes in the sink or there's something else I should be doing with my time right now. When you decide that you're going to take a nap because it's a Sunday afternoon and the kids aren't home and you just want to relax and you can, there's that thought in the back of your mind telling you, well, there's probably something else I should be doing right now instead of this. This isn't the best use of my time, even if you actually need the sleep. And when you spend precious time on a hobby that does nothing except bring you joy, it feels like some superfluous activity that has no place in your life. This internal dialogue that I should be folding laundry instead of reading a book, watching this TV show, doing nothing, or this idea that comes up so often in our minds that I have not done enough today, they keep us stuck in a place of never feeling good enough and also not feeling the joy that we need and not getting the rest we need. I'll say for myself, there's been weekends where my kids are with their dad and I'm just home and choose to be home, choose to do some things around the house. And I have some extra time. And of course, like maybe the laundry's not done being put away, or there's still dishes in the sink, or really I need to vacuum. And I have all this time and space, and it feels like I should have been able to get it all done. And so I feel guilty about the time that I did take to rest or to do nothing or to scroll my phone because that's what I decided to do at that time. It's like, no, I should have been doing something else. And I can reason with myself and understand, well, I did a lot. Like, I actually did a lot. If you look at what I did, it was quite a bit of productive work time. But it's like, well, I had more time. And my mind has a hard time breaking from those patterns of, I should have done more. And that's really what it comes down to. It's really these thought patterns that keep us stuck in these cycles of being go, go, go and burning out, not getting enough rest, not finding enough joy in our day-to-day life because we're not making time for it. And so I want to help us reframe the way we look at rest, reframe the way we look at spending time on things for our own joy and pleasure, and help to see those as possibly actually productive acts. So let's first take a quick look at rest. It is so clear that we all need rest. We know it. We hear the like, oh, you need 8 hours a day. For some people, it's more. For some people, it's less. Your body will not be functioning at the best capacity if you don't have rest. Your mind will not be functioning in the best way it can if you don't have enough rest. You're not going to be showing up with patience for your kids if you don't have enough rest. And yes, sometimes that rest is sleep. At the end of the day, you go to bed early, you get the sleep. But that's not the only kind of rest we need. We also just need downtime to like decompress, to de-stress, to not be focused and worried on other things. And when we look at this as a need, we can kind of see how rest can be reframed as productive. Because taking that nap when you got horrible sleep last night actually might be the most productive thing you can do. It can be the thing that's going to get you to a place of being able to actually function and actually get the things done that you need to get done. Similarly, taking the time to just sit and chill and watch some new movie that's out on Netflix can be a really important way to like give yourself space to recharge, to reset, to not feel so bogged down by the pressures of everything else going on in life, and to like maybe show up a little bit later with your children tomorrow. When we can see it that way, you can kind of start to feel that, okay, actually, maybe that is productive. That is benefiting me and the people around me in some way. And this goes for doing things just for joy as well. Whether you are reading, gardening, going for a walk that's longer than normal, hanging out with some friends, maybe even scrolling your phone and watching some funny TikToks for an hour. It is completely valid to be doing things for you, even if there are other things on your plate, on your to-do list. Joy itself is beneficial. It's restorative. It has an important role to play in our well-being. Even though it doesn't always seem like the most important thing to do on the to-do list, I would argue that it is. It's so important that we are finding ways to enjoy life if we want to be able to keep going. There can be so much guilt that comes along with doing a hobby that brings you nothing except a good time. But if we can see that hobby as something that actually does benefit you and your family because it makes you just a happier, more well rounded, mentally healthy person, then we can see it as something that actually is productive in a sense. It's almost like we have to completely redefine what it actually means to be productive in our day to day to start to break down this idea that productivity in the traditional sense is the end all be all goal for being enough. If we can redefine what we see as being productive in motherhood outside of what is traditionally deemed to be, quote, productive in society, we can start to feel less guilty about maybe not getting everything done on the to do list, maybe taking a moment to pause. Because meeting our emotional needs and being able to show up and meet the needs of our children, that is productive. Creating memories with our family, doing things that bring us all joy, that is also productive when we think about being conducive to like a healthy family culture. Building connections with ourselves, with our partners, with our kids, with the people outside of our homes, that is productive. Spending time with people matters. It's something that we as humans need. And when we spend intentional time deepening those connections, meeting new people, finding ways to connect inward with ourselves, there are massive positive impacts that can happen. And so we can think of it again as productive. Really anything that is taking care of our own well being. So, finding time for rest, finding time for joy, finding time for connection, doing these things that matter. We can start to reframe those things as being productive. And it just helps lessen the pressure we might feel when we feel like we are not doing enough, we're not productive enough, because we can look at what we've done and recognize, oh, actually, I have been quite productive. But I think beyond redefining what we are doing as being productive, it's important to just really start separating our self-worth from all that we do. Because even in that conversation of like, oh, well, if you're taking care of yourself and your kids, you're being productive, it doesn't leave necessarily nuance for the fact that like sometimes we can't show up for our kids fully. Sometimes we can't show up for ourselves fully. Sometimes we're just trying to make it out of bed. And when the standard of like being productive is way up here and we're having a hard time getting out of bed in the morning because you may be dealing with something related to mental health or you're sick or whatever the reason, if we're measuring ourselves to productivity as the standard for being a worthy human, even if we've redefined what that productivity means, there's still so much room for us to feel like we are not enough as a human. And so starting to pull that apart and recognize my worth is not tied to how much I do. Your worth is not tied to how much you do. Whether that is the dishes, whether that is the showing up for your kids emotionally, whether that is the choosing to take time for yourself to rest. If there is a day where none of that happens because you don't have the capacity, you are still a worthy human being. You are still a worthy mother. And when we've been raised in a culture that so just prioritizes and values productivity as the end all be all of our worth, we have to start to work to recognize that and to start to pull it apart because we are worthy outside of what we do. So I want to leave you with a few tips to start releasing the pressure of being productive all the time. The first thing you can do, and I think this is a really important one, is scheduling time for rest and joy. If you write it in your to-do list that watching an episode of your favorite TV show on Netflix is what you will be doing this evening, and then give yourself the permission to check that off the list the next morning when you wake up, then that is something that you've done. It's something you said you were going to do and you did. Schedule in the time for rest. If you want to go to a weekly pottery class or you want to make sure that you're taking a hike with friends on the weekend, treat it like it's a task that you really want to get done. When you write it down in your calendar or on your to-do list, it helps kind of just reframe what you're doing. Like, this is something that is important to me. I've written it down. I've committed to it. And so I'm going to do it. And it feels almost like it is a productive act accomplishing what you set out to do. Another thing that you can do is just practice this like self-talk reframe. So when you're feeling guilty about taking time to rest, remind yourself, I'm refueling my body. Rest is recharging. This is making me a better mom because I am going to have the capacity emotionally and mentally to handle whatever's coming my way. Stopping the patterns of negative self-talk when we experience mom guilt about not being enough, about not doing enough, can be hugely beneficial in limiting the times that those kinds of thoughts will come up when you have a future experience. And then something that we come to a lot here on Worthy Mother podcast is just setting boundaries with what you're taking in. If you are seeing people on social media who are always go, 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 their houses are always perfect, and they seem to be able to do it all with little to no help, and it makes you feel badly about yourself because you are not anywhere near that level of productivity in your own life, consider an unfollow. We are getting enough messaging just existing in this world about how important it is to be doing more and more and more and more as moms, that we really do need to be intentional with boundaries in the areas that we can control. If there is one thing that you take away from this episode, I hope that it is that your worth is not dependent on how productive you are. But beyond that, it's also important to see doing things for joy and getting time for rest as productive, because really they are. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Worthy Mother podcast. We will be back next week with another incredible guest episode. I'm so excited for you all to hear what we have in store for the next few months. And with that, you are worthy, mama.